Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Walkthrough Radio Show with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. And if you're joining us on YouTube at the Walkthrough Radio Show, so we're happy to have you. Okay, Walk, a lot of great stuff to talk about today, man. Your Miami Heat. They
Yes,
got
sir.
up
Yes,
on
sir.
that and got a W last night. But before we
Yes,
even
sir.
get into that, man, what's going on? How you doing on this Sunday morning?
All is well, man. All is well. Beautiful weather here, man, in New York. So I'm looking forward to a great show for sure, Jay.
Yeah, man, we got some good stuff to get into, but let's start with the Celtics and the Heat, man. After game two, it was like, I don't know.
Right.
But your Heat came back strong in game three, really took the game over right from the start, man. So just give me your breakdown of what you saw last night and how good do you feel about this team going forward?
Yeah, Jay. As far as the game went, I mean, it was just they were just relentless on defense. I mean, they made it a priority to focus on the defensive end. That's where they lacked in game two. Jason Tatum, Brown, and Smart. Those guys were able to get any and every shot that they wanted in game two.
Yeah.
But they made it a priority in last night's game. Said, listen, we're going to put more emphasis. We're going to put more focus on the defensive end of the court, and transition that into offense. And that's what they ultimately did. I mean, 19 steals in a playoff game, Jay. That's unheard of. They set a franchise record there as well. But they were definitely focused in, Jay, on that aspect of it. Bam finally decided to show up, and that's exactly what they needed. They needed that Superman, that Batman to Jimmy's Robin. I mean, the Robin to Jimmy's Batman. So Bam came out focused on both ends of the court, and that's ultimately was I think the decision, the difference in the game. Now, as far as going forward, Jad, I'm not sure how to look at this because there was so many injuries. Jimmy Butler didn't play in the second half due to knee inflammation. Also, Tyler Hero didn't play in the last 8 minutes of the game due to a lower leg injury. So we got to keep our eyes on that. They're saying that Jimmy Butler doesn't look like it's serious. He should be able to play in tomorrow night's game. No word right now on Tyler Hero, but they know that they need those guys going forward, Jay. They need every man or every hand on deck right now. It's all hands on deck for both teams, not just the Heat, for both teams. And we've seen this Smart went out with that ankle injury last night, and there was a scary moment with Jason Tatum with that shoulder injury as well. So it's all hands on deck for both teams. But going forward, to answer your question, man, as long as they can stay healthy and they provide that focus on defense, it's going to be a very, very interesting series for sure. This is obviously the closest game that we've had as far as the outcome goes. But for the most part, Miami took it to them. They were ready to play. They had a game plan. They executed it. But Boston is Boston. And we said on Friday night on the walkthrough was that, when they're focused and they're ready to go, they're probably the hardest team to beat, the best team in the NBA, especially the East right now. But going forward, if he can stay healthy, man, and can play with that focus, it's going to make for a very, very good season. I mean, a series, excuse me.
Yeah, no question. And I love what you said about the injuries, man, because whether you're a fan or just someone that's watching basketball because you like basketball, you want to see both teams healthy, right?
Yes,
I don't want to see Boston win because Butler couldn't play or Miami win because Smart and Tatum can't go. I want to see both of these teams at full strength. But I'll tell you, man, you pointed out the defense, and Miami, they just didn't give Boston anything easy, especially in the first half. They made everything so difficult. And if they're going to continue to defend that way, it's going to, like you said, man, it's going to be very interesting. This thing's going to go back and forth.
For sure.
The Heat did get a little bit of help in the form of Kyle Lowry last night as well.
Yes.
How much impact do you think that had, just having him back in the lineup?
Huge impact, Jay. Huge impact. I mean, just what he does on both ends of the court. His ability to get under guys, especially if they're bigger guys. He's able to get under them, pester them for the most part. Able to get in their reach and knock the ball away, or just step in the passing lanes as well. He did a great job of doing that last night. And even after a made basket, his ability to push the ball up court, his focus on that with, especially him and Jimmy Butler have a great chemistry in that where they're always on point. As soon as the ball comes, it's a rebound, or if it comes out of the basket or taken out of bounds, he's immediately have his head up and he's looking at Jimmy Butler. We've seen that a couple of times, not just Jimmy Butler, but other players as well. So even though I think he had 11 points last night, I believe, meaning Lowry, but he did so many other things that didn't show up in the box score, if you will, that impacted the game tremendously. So yeah, to answer your question, huge impact there.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, man. I thought just having his presence on the floor, his leadership, I think that really helped Miami. I'll tell you, one of the things I've been a little bit disappointed in this series, like we saw it in game 2 when Boston kind of just blew Miami's doors off. And then last night, Miami got up huge on Boston. I don't know how you come into these games. This is the Eastern Conference Championship.
Right.
I don't know how you come into these games and you're not ready to go. Like, to me, it looked like in the first quarter, Boston just wasn't ready to go. I'm like, how do you come to these games and not be ready to play? So I'm hoping that the blowouts on both sides are over. And even though Boston tried to make it a close game, like when you get down 25, you have to be so perfect the rest of the game just to try to get back into it.
Right.
And that's such a hard thing to do. So even though they tried to get close, but they get it to 4 or maybe even 2-1 at some point, they could just never get over that hump. So I'm hoping we're finished with the big leads, and now we just see some really competitive basketball going forward, and that both sides are engaged, because I just don't know how you come into a game like that and you just get down by 20 in the first quarter. It just seems like there's something there where you're not ready to go mentally, physically. I don't know. But what do you think about that aspect, K-Walk? Do you think we're done seeing the big leads, or could you see this thing kind of swinging back and forth?
No, I think that we're done seeing the big leads, Jay, because you made a great point. I think, after game 1, Miami was kind of, a little overconfident coming into game 2 because, the way that they won, they were down, I think 13-14 at one point in the first game. They came back, even though they didn't have the Boston didn't have Al Horford or Marcus Smart, even though they were down as much as they were, and they came back to ultimately win by, the margin that they won by. I thought that Miami came out in the second game and said, listen, we're at home, even though Marcus Smart and Al Horford are back, we're this team, we can come back, we can beat this team. So I thought they were a little confident. And then we've seen the outcome with, with Boston blowing them out by 25. Now, Boston has that same mentality coming into game 3 and said, listen, we just blew these guys out by 25. They were at home, they were full strength. We're at home. So I think they kind of lost focus there, kind of came in there lackadaisical, if you will. And that's what we've seen for all 3 games. But I think we're done seeing that, to answer your question, Jay. I think we're done seeing that. And I think it's going to be a competitive game throughout. We're not going to see those big leads, maybe a 10-point lead at one point, but I don't think we're going to see those 15 to 20-point leads, for the remainder of the season, unless something dramatically happens, as far as, injuries go. But if both teams are both at full strength, I think we're going to see very competitive games for the remainder of the series.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. And look, with that Miami big win last night, I mean, the pressure's on Boston now. Like, they have to win tomorrow night. They can't go down 3-1 or this thing's going to be over. So now I feel like all the pressure's on Boston at home Monday night. They absolutely have to win that game. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch as we go forward. All right, let's go out west, man. Let's go out west. Golden State, Steph and the boys, they played Dallas today. They're up 2-0. I think they're feeling pretty confident about everything. How do you see this thing playing out? Obviously, Dallas needs to win today. Do you think they can do it, or are we looking at a possible sweep over the next couple of games?
It's so hard to say with this series, and you just don't know what you're going to get with the Mavericks and Luka and those guys. And it just seems like, that Golden State just plays just a little too much behind for me. I know that the last game, 19-point, they had to come back from a 19-point deficit. They're built that way. I just think like I said, a couple of weeks ago or last week, Golden State is just like, that cat playing with that dead mouse, and they're not ready to eat that mouse just yet. They just want to play with it for a little while longer. But I think they want to I think they want to get this series over with. I think tonight it's going to be tough because that crowd's going to be fired up. Luke is going to be fired up. His supporting cast is going to be fired up. So I'm going to take the Mavericks tonight, Jay. I really think they'll get one, and I think this is the one that they'll get. And then we'll see how it goes from there. But I'm going to give the edge to the Mavericks tonight, just because they're at home and in the way that they played for the most part in game 2, they just weren't able to close it out. But I think they'll be able to do that tonight. So I'm going with the Mavs tonight.
Yeah, no, one of the things about Golden State, for as good as they are and as well as they play, and I love the way that they play offense, you're right. They get careless at times. They get loose with the ball at times. They'll throw some passes and you're like, why would you even try that pass? Right. So they do have a way, as like you said, playing with the dead mouse, and not just finishing things off. So I don't like them about that, because sometimes they put themselves in a hole and now they have to fight their way out of it, as we saw in game 2. So I feel like if they can avoid that and come into the game ready to go right from the jump, I feel like they have an excellent opportunity to go up 3-0 here. But another kind of bigger question about Golden State, as we just kind of look at that franchise, let's say since like maybe 2015, kind of when they kind of came on the map and maybe got that first championship. I don't remember, but someone was asking the question, like, if Golden State wins the title this year, does that in any way diminish what KD did in Golden State? KD wins 2 championships there. He was the MVP of the series, Finals MVP. People unanimously felt like KD was the best player on that team. That he was largely responsible for getting them those championships. But if they win one now, do you kind of look at those 2 KD championships and maybe pencil an asterisk next to it? I'm just asking. I don't want people to think I'm hating on KD, but does that in any way take away from the 2 championships KD won with Golden State?
Nah, I don't think so, man. I really don't think so, because you mentioned that he was the MVP of those series. So I think him solidifying that the championship, and that he was the main guy. He had the MVPs. So no, I'm going to say no. It doesn't diminish it. I don't know why people are out there hating on KD. That Boston series really set him back for sure, just a little bit. So he got a lot of work to do, man. I hope he's in the gym right now as we speak, Jay, just pumping that iron, man. But I definitely don't think it. I definitely don't think it'll diminish his career or those championships, because like I stated, he was the man in those series. So definitely not, man. Definitely not. It just goes to show you that the common denominator for the championships are those 3 guys that we mentioned: the Stephs, the Greens, and the Thompson. So that's all that means. It just means that sometimes one guy will step up in that particular situation. So I definitely don't think it's going to hurt KD, and keep the ashes away from the championship.
All right, let me ask it a different way. Let me ask it this way: do you think KD needs to win another championship? Not for his legacy. We know he's a great player. But do you feel like he needs to win another championship, maybe just to shut some people up? How about that? Just to shut up some of the haters. Do you feel like he needs to win another one?
Oh, absolutely, Jay. Absolutely. Well, that's a no-brainer there. He definitely has to win another one, because a lot of people are asking the question that you posed earlier. Does that diminish if Golden State wins? Does it diminish? Because there's going to be some people out there who think that you should put an asterisk by that. So to combat that, I think he really needs to win another championship, solidify his career, and to justify what he did in Golden State. Even though he was the MVP there, he wasn't along for the ride. He was the best player in that series without question. But I really do believe that he needs he definitely needs another championship to kind of get that monkey off of his back, if you will, kind of like that Steve Young situation when he was when he was in San Francisco, and he had to come out of Joe Montana's shoes, and he just couldn't get that until he won that championship, got the monkey off his back. So right now, I think KD has a monkey on his back. He needs to get it off by winning another championship for sure.
Yeah, I think he does need to win another one as well. It's almost like if LeBron's only championships were the two that he won in Miami, I feel like people would be like, okay, but you were with D Wade and you were with Bosh.
Right.
In some way, I think it validated LeBron even more when he went and did it in Cleveland, not on his own, but people felt like that was more of a on his own championship than the ones in Miami. And I kind of feel the same way about KD. You got two, but yes, you went and did it with Steph and Clay and Draymond. I think if he gets one in Brooklyn, that validates him more. Look, we all know KD is fantastic, but I think for a lot of the naysayers, that'll be a way to kind of shut some of them up.
Sure.
So I do think he needs to win another one. All right, great stuff there, K-Walk. We're going to grab our first break. When we come back, man, we got to talk about Nick Saban. I don't know what happened this week, but he flew off the rails, man. He kind of sounded like to me like the old man, get off my lawn type stuff, man. So we got to talk about Saban, the NIL, Jimbo Fisher, Dion, and just try to make some sense of this whole thing. So we'll do that when we come back. You're listening to The Walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to The Walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. All right, K-Walk, the NIL, look, we know it's not perfect. You and I have talked about it before. I think we agree. We like the idea of these guys being able to be paid, but we know that currently that system does have some problems. But Nick Saban came out this week, insinuated that Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M bought all their players, that Dion is buying players at Jackson State. What did you make of this whole mess, man? And how did you feel about what Saban had to say?
Yeah, just a crybaby, Jay, where now he has to start sharing his cookies and milk with with the rest of the class. That's basically how it goes down to. He's just so used to having, monopolizing all of the big talents that are out there, the number one recruits, the number two, so forth and so on, the 4-star, 5-star guys out there. Now that the NIL is out there, they're able, it's not an even playing field just yet, Jay, but it's slowly but surely turning into one. And Nick Saban is starting to see that now that Texas A&M, came out and they had the number one recruiting class. Now Nick Saban, okay, well, we don't have the number one recruiting class. What's going on with this? Hey, listen, they bought he didn't say one guy or two guys. He said he bought every single one of
everybody.
I'm like, good gracious, bro. I'm like, I didn't understand that. And then he went after Dion, of course, because Dion got the big recruit out of there. He said he paid him $1 million. So Nick Saban is just showing his ignorance because he understands how this works. No one pays their players. Well, we know in this case, they don't have to pay their players. It's all about the NIL. It's all about the endorsements. So now Nick has to come up with a new strategy and say, listen, how am I going to compete with this NIL? Because the NIL right now is his kryptonite for sure, Jay. It's Superman's kryptonite. And he's starting to realize that. And when he sees that Texas A&M has the number one recruiting class, he's starting to say, well, what's going on with this? Why not Florida? Why not LSU? Why not Ole Miss? Just to name a few teams in SEC. But Jimbo Fisher is a good coach and he's a good recruiter. We saw him. Sure. We've seen that. His resume speaks for itself. But yeah, he just sounds like he's very narcissistic, if you will. He just feels like he knows everything. Jimbo Fisher, I love his response when he said, listen, I know coaches who know this guy and they'll tell you stories. So you don't want to go there. He told him, he said, you don't want to go there, Dick. You don't want to go there talking about people cheating. So he didn't say that, but he alluded to it, Jay. And we kind of wonder, what Nick Saban's secret to success is, getting all those 4- and 5-star guys to commit to him, commit to Alabama. So I love his response. Dion, I love Jimbo Fisher's response. I love Dion's response. Dion's like, listen, I'm not going to go back and forth with you over the phone. I'm not going to go back and forth through social media. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it man to man. Hey, This is the nature of the beast. This is the nature of the beast now, Nick. So you got competition now. So you got to understand, like, listen, this is not going into those parents' rooms anymore, our parents' living rooms or kids' living rooms, talking to their parents and say, listen, we've won championship after championship after championship. Now it's about what can you do for me? What can you do for me in the future? I understand what you did in the past, but we're talking about the future. So now he's starting to see that, and coming off of the national championship loss to Georgia, he's starting to get a little bit worried there, Jay. So just very narcissistic on his part, and just very ignorant at the same time. Just sounds like a crybaby who has to start sharing his snacks now.
Yeah, man, like the hypocrisy, the irony, right?
Yes.
A guy who had all kind of built-in advantages being at Alabama, right? Number one, the brand recognition of Alabama, playing on TV every week, the fans, the stadium, the history of Alabama football, all those built-in advantages. You never heard him saying anything about that when all the advantages favored him. Now that we got the NIL, and look, the money is long in Texas. The money is long. So they're going to be able to maybe do some things that aren't taking places in other states. But the thing that Nick's got to understand, in my opinion, is NIL's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. He's going to have to adjust to it, or he's going to get left behind. Complaining about it isn't going to do anything. If I'm a recruit, if I'm a high-level recruit, and I see some coaches embracing the NIL, trying to figure out as many opportunities as they can for me as a player, and then I see other coaches complaining about it. I don't want to go play for you. You know, I want to go to the university where they're embracing this thing. So I think Saban, he's going to have to get out in front of this thing. He's going to have to embrace the NIL. He's going to have to figure out a way to make it work for him, because the good old days are over, man. They're not going to be able to put that toothpaste back in the tube. NIL is here to stay. And if you're going to succeed, you're going to have to adjust and embrace it, rather than complain about it and make excuses and blame other coaches and make wild accusations. Saban, look, and I like Saban. I think he's a fantastic coach. And I feel like most of the time, you know, he knows how to handle the media, you know, but this was a huge misstep for him. This was a huge misstep for him. So it's going to be interesting to watch this thing and kind of see how it plays out down the road. But man, that was a wild week in college football.
For sure.
All right, K-Walk, man, let's build this roster, man. I want to build an NFL roster today. We're each going to pick a QB, a running back, a tight end, and 3 wide receivers. We're not going to pick any O-linemen. Let's just stick to the skill positions. These have to be current players. If you want to include anyone who was just drafted, I guess they could count as a current player. And we're just going to see who can put a good team together, man. All right. So let's start with the QBs, man, because we know the QBs make the team. And I'm going to give you first pick, man. A lot of great QBs out there. Who you got, K-Walk? If you're building your super team, your all-star team, your Pro Bowl team, however you want to look at it, who are you going to have at the helm? Who's going to be the QB to run your squad?
You know what, Jay, man, this was really tough one, man. I kept going back and forth with 3 guys, but I'm gonna go with my man. I'm gonna draft Mr. Aaron Rodgers from Green Bay. So I'm going with Aaron Rodgers.
That's a great pick. I got 4 QBs on my list. He was the first one on my list. Of course, I got Tom Brady, but I feel like he's past his prime, so I'm not going with TB12. I'm thinking about Josh Allen, maybe just on potential, but I think I'm going to go Russell Wilson here, man. I really feel like Russ is underrated. I really do, and I think in Denver now that he's going to be with some receivers, some talented receivers, I think we're going to see a different Russell Wilson. So I'm going to take Russ as my QB. All right, let's stay in the backfield, man. Let's go to the running backs. Again, I'll give you first pick. There's plenty to choose from here. So who you got, man? Who's going to run the rock for you?
Yeah, man. You know, running backs are starting to become obsolete, Jay. We're just seeing so many different guys. But the way that I want to build my team, man, is I want a guy that can run the ball, and I want a guy who can be a receiver, quality receiver out of the backfield. So with that said, I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara from the Saints. Healthy Alvin Kamara from the Saints.
That's a great pick. I'm thinking the same thing, right? I don't want a guy that can just run it. I got to have somebody that can catch it out of the backfield, especially in today's NFL. So you took Kamara. I'm going to grab Dalvin Cook. I think he can do some of the same things, the explosiveness, the speed. I think he fits today's NFL very well. So I'm going to grab Dalvin Cook as my running back. All right, let's go to the tight ends, man. Some really good ones and some young ones too that are kind of on the come up. Where are you going, man? Is this a no-brainer for you? You going to San Francisco, or you
know it,
Jay?
You already know. Yeah, nah. I was going back and forth, between Kelsey and Kittle, and then you also have I can't think of his name, out of Baltimore, Mark Andrews. But yeah, I'm gonna go George Kittle, man. I gotta go George Kittle there. I think he is the best blocking. I think he's the best all-around tight end in the game. So George Kittle for sure for me.
Yeah, great pick. I'm not picking this guy, but I am going to shout out a Penn State guy, Mike Gesicki. He's young, but he's on the come up, man. This kid is on the come up. He's a really good tight end. But I'm going to take Kelsey, man. You got Kittle. I got to take Kelsey. We've seen Kelsey, fantastic playmaker. Not as much as a big play threat as Kittle. Kittle does a really good job after he catches it, trying to score. But if I can't have Kittle, Kelsey's definitely the next best thing. So give me Travis Kelce. All right, let's go back and forth on the receivers, man. We'll take one at a time. We each get 3. Who's your first pick?
Man, you know what? I'm gonna go with my man's Devontae Adams now he's out of Las Vegas. So I'm gonna give Aaron Rodgers his old target back, and I'm gonna go with Devontae Adams.
All right, that's a strong pick right there for sure. Let me cross him off my list. I'm gonna grab, and I'm assuming all these guys are healthy. I'm gonna grab DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins. I feel like when he's healthy, you could make the argument that he's the best receiver in the league. So give me DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. All right. So my next one, I'm going to go with my man Debo, man. Debo can do a lot of different things. Out of the backfield, we saw that in the playoffs. We saw that in the latter part of the season for the 49ers. So I'm going to grab Debo. I think he's just a playmaker, great run after catch guy, very strong guy. So I'm going to go Debo Samuels here.
Okay. Man, I don't even have Debo on my list. That was an oversight on my part, man. But look, I got DeAndre Hopkins, who I don't think is really a speed burner. So I need a guy that's going to be able to stretch the field. So give me Tyreek Hill, man. Give me the cheetah. He'll stretch the field, put a lot of pressure on those DBs. So give me Tyreek Hill.
All right. So like you, Jay, I need someone who can definitely stretch the field. Let me see who we got here. I should have put Tyreek there and then went back to Debo. If I'd have known you didn't have Debo on your list, I would have Tyreek and came back with Debo. But you know what? I think Debo can stretch the field a little bit. Devontae Adams as well. So I need a guy. I need a red zone guy who can go up and get that ball. That jump ball. I got 2 guys here that I'm really I'm going to go with my man AJ Brown. I think AJ Brown is a solid receiver. He can go up and get that thing. I'm trying to think who else that I do I want to go AJ Brown here? Do I want to go? All right. Big receiver, tall receiver. You know what? Oh my God. You know what, Jay? This guy can give me both. Can give me speed and size. So I'm changing my pick. Okay. I'm gonna go with DK Metcalf from Seattle. DK Metcalf. I think that he gives me everything that I need there, right there. Yeah, I like that.
When you said AJ Brown, I was pumping my fist under the table because DK was gonna be my pick, man. But that's okay. I got Tyreek. I can put Tyreek in the slot. I got D-Hop on the outside. I feel like I need another big receiver. Now, this guy's not going to scare you with his speed, but he certainly has great hands and can be a good possession receiver. I'm going to take Mike Evans, man. I'm going to take Mike Evans.
Okay, I like that one.
As my last choice. So I'm gonna recap my team, K Walk. Then I'll let you recap yours. And when we post this thing on YouTube, we'll get some feedback.
I can't wait to see that one. Yeah, I can't wait to see
who
that
the people like more. So my QB was Russell Wilson. I got Dalvin Cook as my running back. I got Travis Kelce as my tight end. And my 3 receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, and Mike Evans. Who you got, K Walk?
Yeah, my quarterback, I went with Aaron Rodgers. Running back, I went with AK-41. That's Alvin Kamara out of New Orleans. Tight end, I went with George Kittle, San Francisco. Wide receiver, I went with Devontae Adams, Green Bay. I'm sorry, I apologize. I can't get used to that. Out of the Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. The second receiver, I went with the multi-purpose guy, all-purpose guy. I went with Deebo Samuel. And then with the last pick, I went with DK Metcalf.
All right, yeah, that's a nice squad, man. That's going to be tough to beat. I'm not even going to lie. That's going to be tough to beat. All right, great stuff, K-Walk. Great stuff. We're going to grab our next break. When we come back, K-Walk's got some great stuff that he needs to get into, so stick around. You're listening to The Walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Again, you are tuned into the Walkthrough Radio Show with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Before the break, we recapped the games, the playoff games, NBA playoff games. Last night game between the Heat and the Celtics. Heat were able to go up 2-1. Preview tonight's game between the Warriors and the Mavericks as well. Great stuff there. Also, we created our offensive possession guys, our offense weapons guys, as far as the draft. I kind of like that one, Jay. So got to keep that rolling, man, and in some other form or fashion, but I definitely like that one for sure. Want to switch gears here, guys, and I want to go back to the NBA. And I just want to talk about the NBA, the playoffs. We talked about that. Just want to talk about your MVP, Jay, right now, the remaining 4 teams. I mean, we got some guys here. I got some names on here. I got Luka Doncic. I got Jimmy Butler, I got Steph Curry, and I got Jason Tatum. Those are the 4 guys that I think are the leading candidates, in my opinion, the leading candidates for this particular award, if there is one. Or if you got someone else that you want to throw in there, Jay, your thoughts on the right now, if you had to give an MVP right now to the final 4, who are you going with?
Yeah, man, I wrote down those same exact 4 names. It's tough, man, because Luka has been fantastic, right? I mean, he's been great. Jimmy Butler, I mean, he's been great the last few times out as well. But I think I'm going to go with Steph. And I know he's been a little inconsistent, but the reason I'm going to go with Steph is because I really think that he's kind of the straw that stirs the whole drink in Golden State. Yeah. So even though sometimes his numbers might not be great, he's the guy that makes the whole thing go. And because you have to pay so much attention to Steph, it opens up opportunities for other people. Clay gets some cleaner looks. Jordan Poole has a lot more space to operate. So I think Steph is really that guy, man, just from every aspect in terms of his shooting, the attention that he draws, just the leadership that he displays for Golden State. And just the fact when he's on the floor, you have to pay attention to him. There's no way around it. You've got to have eyes on this guy at all time. And I think his team is poised to win the championship. So to me, that's another feather in his cap, so to speak. So I'm going to go with Steph here, but it's close because all 4 of those guys have been great in their own right.
Yeah, for sure, Jay. And I was thinking, as much as I want to go with Jimmy Butler, he's my guy. I just can't do it. I know he had 2 outstanding games in the beginning, the first and second game. And last night, he had 8 points last night, and, he didn't play in the second half. So I kind of took him out of the race, if you will. For the same reasons last night, Jason Tatum, I kind of took him out of the race as well. Yeah. I just looking for consistency here. And I think that everything that you just mentioned, so with that being said, everything that you just mentioned, I'm going to go with Steph too, because Steph is he's the most consistent guy right now in the first 2 or 3 games. in each respective series. And like you stated, he's to use your term, he's the straw that stirs that coffee, if you will, that stirs that drink. And like you stated, I think they're the favorite to win the championship, and that's generally where the MVP goes. It goes to the best player or the best team. So I'm going to go with you there. I'm going to side with you on that one as well. So I definitely think Steph right now is the MVP. That may change. We still got some games left. We may come back to revisit this, but right now I'm giving it to Steph for sure. Staying on the Luka talk, if you will. Jay, I had to ask this question, man. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Luka and everything that he presents, and also, there's a lot of comparisons to kind of to Larry Bird. Not so much because Larry Bird didn't really bring the ball up the court that Luka did. But my thing is, I don't think Luka back in the day could have brought the ball up with the way the defense was played back in Larry Bird's day. But I'm going to compare him. What say you about the Luka Doncic comparison to Larry Bird, and is he to this modern days Larry Bird? What say you?
I get the comparison. I understand why people go to the Larry Bird comparison, right? And in some ways, I do think I can see that. But I really think, because you mentioned it, like the way Luka plays, his game to me doesn't really mirror Larry Bird's game a whole lot. I felt like Larry was a little bit more of a gritty player, a little bit more tough player, would mix it up a little bit more. Obviously, Larry Bird was a great shooter. Everybody knows that. But to me, the Luka comparison to me is more of a LeBron James comparison. Because we see LeBron control the whole game, right? He brings the ball up, he sets up the offense, he can score, but he's also a great passer. Those are the things that I see in Luka. Like everything Dallas does, they run it through Luka. He brings it up, he sets up the offense, he can score, he can pass the ball when he has to. He's kind of the do everything guy for Dallas. And I think that's what LeBron was, especially in Cleveland. When he didn't have D Wade and Bosh, he was the do everything guy, and he set everything up for everyone else, and then got his own on his own as well. So that's the comparison that I think fits better in terms of their game. But I get why people go Luka and Larry for obvious reasons. But I don't think their games match up as well as Luka's game matches up to somebody like a LeBron. And it was interesting. I saw Draymond Green on his podcast. He was saying something similar. He was talking about how Luka's game was similar to LeBron's in that the court vision, the way that he sees things before they happen, and just some of those things that he felt like some of those similarities were there as well. So I kind of lean more towards that than I do the Larry Bird comparison.
Yeah, for sure. I have to agree there, man. I think he's just a little bit more of a ball handler than Larry Bird was. Not saying Larry Bird could, but he was just more. It just seems like Larry Bird was that true forward, that small forward, excuse me, and he was able to shoot the threes, obviously, make some plays, get his guys and involved as well. Somewhat of a facilitator was Larry Bird, but not 100% of a facilitator. But I didn't bring this up to you, Jay. I forgot to send this to you, but I want to talk about, I brought up earlier Luka bringing the ball up, and back in the day, he wouldn't have been able to do that because of the way defenses were played. Let me ask you this. With that being said, we got Luka. I'm just throwing names out there, guys that you generally don't see bring the ball up, especially at their size. We talked about KD. Let's talk about Luka. Bam Adebayo brings the ball up sometimes. You see some of these big guys bring the ball up. Joel Embiid brings the ball up sometimes. Do you think those guys would have been effective bringing the ball up back in the day? Let's say with Larry Bird era, like in the late 80s to the mid 90s or late 90s. What say you about their game, and how would it have worked for them back then?
Yeah, I want to say no, because obviously back then you could hand check guys, and even though ball handling is better now, I think sometimes we give some of these big guys too much credit for their ball handling, right? Like they're good ball handlers for 6'8", 7 feet guys, but I don't know that they're great ball handlers for like 6 foot to 6'3" guys. So I think if you've got a big guy bringing the ball up the floor back then, I think they would have got hand checked to death. The ball pressure would have been tremendous. And by the time they actually set up the offense, I don't think you're going to have a lot of time left on the shot clock.
Right. Great
So
point.
I just don't think it would have worked. And I think that's why we saw guys like Isaiah Thomas bringing the ball up because of the quickness, the ball handling, things like that. I mean, if you think about it, Magic was really the only big guy that was playing point guard at the time. And even he had to like turn his back and do that whole thing, trying to bring it up the floor. And I think because of the way the Lakers played up-tempo, showtime, they were able to get around some of that. So I think for the most part, K-Walk, these big guys bringing it up would not have worked back in the 80s and early 90s, just because the pace of play was so different and the style of play was so different. I don't think it would have worked.
Yeah, and some of these guys' games are predicated on them bringing the ball up because you get so many different type of matchups. You get a big guy on a big guy, but I just can't see like a Gary Payton. You mentioned Isaiah Thomas. I can't see like a guy like a Gary Payton allowing a guy that size to bring up the ball up the court. He would have did something. George Karl would have done something to adjust to that. I'm just surprised we don't see that more often. We don't see more pressing teams pressing or a full court press. When you see like a Joel Embiid or a Luka, or like I mentioned, Bam Adebayo brings the ball up a lot for the Heat as well. I'm just surprised you don't see a lot of full court press when you see guys bring the ball up like that. But hey, that's the new era, Jay. That's what we live in. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Like, do you remember when Scottie Pippen, like the Bulls Lakers championship, and they put Scottie on Magic, and all the trouble he gave Magic, just trying to bring the ball up the floor? Like, that's what guys should do now. Like, take a long, athletic defender, put some pressure on these guys, and I guarantee you it'll mess up the whole flow of the offense. So you're right, man. I don't know why everyone just lets these guys bring the ball up without any real pressure. Because again, I don't think their ball handling is great. I think it's good. It's good for a 6'8" guy. It's good for a 7-footer. But if somebody really puts some serious ball pressure on you, can you really handle that? That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, and you made a great point there as far as the Scottie Pippen thing. Because remember, they did that in the series against the Indiana Pacers when Mark Jackson was bringing the ball up, and they made that switch to put Pip on Mark Jackson. Kind of like that mentality: you cut the head off the snake to kill the body, and that's what they ultimately did. So, like, you make a great point as far as a long athletic guy like that, who's willing to play defense, who's focused on defense, to be able to disrupt, even if it's a normal point, it was a general, your traditional point guard. But if you bring a broad guy up like 6'8", 6'9", 7 foot, whatever the case may be, I just don't understand why they don't do more of that type of pressing. But this is today's game, so that's just the way it is. Jay, what we're going to do here is we're going to grab our next break. We got a little bit of time here. So what I want to do, I didn't bring this up to you either, Jay, is I want to talk about the NFC East, a couple teams here. And ladies and gentlemen, we got a surprise for you. Jay made a move that no one saw coming. And we're going to talk about that after the break. And I hope you guys give your thoughts and opinions on this, when we post this for sure, because it was something that no one saw coming, at least not here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. But again, ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned to the Walkthrough Radio Show. Again, with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Again, you're tuned into the Walkthrough Radio Show with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Before the break, we were talking, giving our thoughts and opinions on the playoff MVP, and also what we thought about Luka Doncic and his comparison, the comparisons that he's been getting to Larry Bird. Gave our thoughts and opinions on that. Want to switch gears a little bit here, guys. I want to go back to the NFL. And I want to talk about the NFC East. It's almost that time we got to start. Teams are starting to form into who they want to be. They got the teams, the drafts are set. Free agency, there are still some free agents out there, but no real big names or nothing's going to make a huge impact. But nonetheless, I think it's time for us to start focusing on, giving predictions to the, to certain divisions. This division I want to focus on is the NFC East. And the reason why I'm laughing, ladies and gentlemen, and before the break, if you didn't catch that, Jay made a surprising move. Last year, ladies and gentlemen, Jay pledged his allegiance to the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? He said it was his hometown, as a kid, that was his hometown team. But Jay has now went to the dark side, if you will, and he has pledged his allegiance to the Dallas Cowboys. Wow, what a move, Jay. Please, for our listeners and our watchers, can you please explain why you made this move? And this is a brave move. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, Jason and I from both, we grew up in South Jersey, which is a Philadelphia area for the most part. You got the Eagles, you got the Sixers, you got the Phillies, you got the Flyers. Yeah. And Jay went from the Eagles to the Cowboys. Jay, are you starting to work on your security when you go home to visit the family, man? Because they're coming after you, man, once they hear this. What say you and your thoughts and why you made this move, Jay?
It's wild, K-Walk, but as you know, man, I've never really been locked into one NFL team. I mean, when I was a kid, yes, I rooted for the Eagles. Then when my brother went to the Redskins, when they were called the Redskins back then, I immediately became a Redskins fan when he was there, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I was kind of stuck in no man's land, man, with no team. So every year I would just find a team to root for. Last year I went back to my roots, man. I wanted to support the Eagles. But what did I really get out of that? Nothing, right? So this year, man, I decided, and some of my brothers are Cowboys fans, but I just feel like, man, this is going to be the year for the Cowboys. If you look at the NFC East, right, if we're really being honest, it's a two-team race. I don't really think the Washington football team's going to do a whole lot. I don't think the Giants are ready, even though I do think they're going to be better. I think it comes down to the Cowboys and the Eagles. I think one of those two teams is going to win the division. And when it comes down to that, I'm going to say I trust Dak Prescott more than I do Jalen Hurts right now. Now, Jalen might prove me wrong, but I trust Dak more. And I think the Cowboys have a talented roster. They had a talented roster last year, but couldn't avoid some of the bonehead plays that really cost some football games. They made some changes. Some of the guys that were jumping off sides and getting stupid penalties on defense are not there anymore. I think this is the year that the Cowboys get over the hump. So, K-Walk, I wanted to get out in front of it. I didn't want to wait until they were like 10-2 to jump on that bandwagon. I want to get out in front of it. I'm pledging my allegiance. Now I am officially a Cowboys fan. And we're going to ride this thing all the way to the Super Bowl, K-Walk. We're going to ride it all the way to the Super Bowl.
Wow. Not only did he pledge his allegiance, he turned into a true Cowboy fan immediately, because now they're going to the Super Bowl. Now they're going to the Super Bowl. So he's already in Cowboy mode, man, Cowboy fan mode, man. So yeah, that's good stuff there, Jay. I know some of your brothers, you tell me all the time, you tell us all the time that they're Cowboy fans. Y'all make sure when y'all go back to South Jersey, y'all travel together, man. Y'all travel together because they're coming after you, man. They're coming after you more than anybody else, Jay, because you went from Philly. They were always Cowboy fans. True, you went from Philly to Dallas. So that's going to be interesting to see, Jay. I mean, to hear the fans, and then you know how the Philly fans are, man. They're rough on Santa Claus, so they're not giving a pass to anyone, man.
Oh, I know.
But yeah,
I know it, man.
But that's going to be something great to talk about for sure throughout the season. But yeah, you mentioned the East, the NFC East, and you sort of look at the Giants. They made some okay moves. You got the Commanders now, who when they brought in, I think it was Carson Wentz. They brought in Carson Wentz. I just don't know, what, you're going to get from Carson Wentz. I think he had a really good team last year with the Colts, and he just couldn't get it done for whatever reason. So I don't have too much confidence in the Commanders, especially with everything going on with Dan Snyder right now. The owners are talking about voting him out as owner right now, because there's going to be so much turmoil and so many distractions in that organization. So I'm going to put them at the bottom coming out of there. Yeah. But the Eagles made some tremendous moves, and you made a great point. I think, they had a heck of a draft, bringing those guys in that they brought in. Then they made the big trade for AJ Brown as well. Then they signed the cornerback, was it Bradbury from New York, from the Giants. So right now the Eagles are all in. They've made those necessary moves and necessary assignments or signings. Now, Jalen Hurts, it's all on you, brother. It's all on you. And like Jay said, he has more confidence in Dak than he does in you. So he may, he said you may prove him wrong. I hope you do, man. I hope you do, man, because that's a tough move. I'll be hurt, man. I'll be hurt if you went from being a 49er fan to being a Seahawk fan. That's like being a Seahawk, you know.
Right.
I know the divisions are not as competitive, or it's not as, don't have that passion of fan base, but nonetheless, it's equivalent to you going from a 49er fan to a Seahawk fan,
Yep.
in my personal opinion. But good luck with that with Jay. But I'm going to right now, as of right now, as it presently constructed, I'm going to take the Eagles, Jay, because I believe in Jalen Hurts, man.
Okay.
And everything that you said about the Cowboys and what they weren't able to do. I know you said they got rid of those guys that kind of cost them, a playoff run, if you will, to my 49ers, by the way. They got rid of those guys. They cleaned up some stuff, as you mentioned. So I don't know, man. I just think there's just something about the Cowboys is that I just can't buy. I'm not buying right now with the Cowboys. I'm just not buying the Cowboys right now. They may prove me wrong. They had a heck of a season last year, Jay. You see what happened. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking the Eagles right now. I know we're gonna be down there sometime soon in the near future. So Eagle fans, I'm picking you to win the division. So if I'm with Jay, just make sure I don't get hit with any of those balloons or anything like that. Jay, you my guy, man. I'll protect as much as I possibly can, man. But great stuff there, man. All right, we got a couple minutes here, and I want to dive into our star bench cut. And I kind of went heavy here, Jay. Usually I try to just mix some stuff up here, but I went kind of heavy here this week. The first one I'm gonna start off with, not as so much heavy, but just interesting in my opinion. And you're the best in-game dunk that you've seen out of these three.
Okay.
We got Sean Kemp over Alton Lister. I don't know if you remember that dunk, the one he cuffed, came down and he pointed at him with the four fingers.
Yep.
Okay.
I can see it in my head right now.
Yeah, there you go. Then you got Scottie Pippen dunking over Patrick Ewing, and he stepped over him. Yeah, I'm not calling it a disrespectful dunk. I'm just calling it the best dunk out of these three. And also Vince Carter over Alonzo Mourning when he kind of cocked it back. And yeah. So we got Sean Kemp over Lister. We got Pip over Ewing, and we got Carter over Mourning.
These are tough, man. It's funny how you can start describing it and then you can just see it happening in your mind. That tells you that they're all great dunks. Right. I think I'm going to go with Pippen, man. Even though I don't know if the dunk itself was the best, but the after added pointing in Ewing's face and just the intensity around the whole thing. So I think I'm going to start Pippen. I'm going to bench the Sean Kemp dunk. And I'm going to cut Vince Carter's dunk. It was a good dunk over Mourning, but I feel like the other ones just had a little bit more flair. So I'm going to start Pippen, bench Kemp, and I'm going to cut Vinsanity.
Yeah, everything you just mentioned, Jay, I'm going right on board with you. I'm starting the Pip dunk because everything you mentioned, and then after that, he told Spike Lee to sit your butt down. I'm keeping it PG rated, but he sit your butt down. And then the Kemp dunk, I just thought that was the way he kind of cradled that, cocked it back, and then this is the aftermath as well. So I'm going to bench that one as well, and then I'm going to cut the Vince Carter. As much as I love Vince Carter and watching him dunk, I'm going to cut that one. Next one, Jay. These are the greatest franchises. And you know what? I did this intentionally, man. The greatest franchises. We got the New York Yankees, we got the Los Angeles Lakers, and we got the Dallas Cowboys.
This is tough, man. A lot of history with all these. Wow, K-Walk. I really think you got to start the Yankees. I think you have to start the Yankees. I don't know how many World Series titles they have. I think I lost count at 26.
27.
So they're up to 27. Okay, yeah. So the Yankees are just iconic, man. And baseball's an international game. Basketball is as well, but for the longest time, they were calling baseball America's pastime. I think I'm going to start the Yankees. I'm going to bench the Cowboys. I'm going to bench the Cowboys because whether you love them or you hate them, you're going to get some kind of reaction whenever you say Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be people that love them or people that hate them, but they're going to invoke a reaction. So there's something to be said about that. So I'm going to bench the Cowboys and I'm going to cut the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers are great, wonderful NBA franchise, but I don't know that they spark the same kind of conversation as maybe those other two. So I'm going to cut the Lakers.
All right, good stuff. I'm going to go slightly different here than you, Jay. I am going to start the Yankees. I'm going to start them for sure for everything that you mentioned, just the history. They're always in it, whether it be a playoffs, whether it be the World Series. Like you mentioned, there's 27 World Series there. Right now, they have the best record in all of baseball. Had to throw that out there. But I'm going to bench the Lakers, man. I'm going to bench the Lakers because all of this, the history there, with Magic, with Jerry West, who's the emblem of the NBA. You just go on and on about the names: Shaq, Kobe, LeBron right now, and they've won a championship recently too. They won 2 years ago. I know it was in a bubble. A lot of people are going to say it's an asterisk there, but yeah. So I'm going to say the Lakers, and I'm just going to bench the Cowboys because the Cowboys haven't won a playoff game. Forget a Super Bowl since I think it was. I don't know when the last time they won a playoff game, but they've been
94 something like that. I think.
Well, they won a Super Bowl. I think they won a Super Bowl 96 because I know the 49ers won in 95. They won a year after that, but they haven't been truly relevant. I mean, they're probably the most expensive or most valuable, I should say, most valuable franchise out there. I believe they are as far as Forbes goes. But they just haven't been winning enough games, quality games for me, significant games. So I'm going to have to cut Cowboys. Sorry, Princess and Cowboy fans, if you listen, I apologize for definitely doing that. Last one, Jay. This is the greatest athlete of all time. You thought we got greatest athletes. We got Tiger Woods. We got Tom Brady. And we got Mr. Michael Jeffrey Jordan, start bench cut.
Greatest athlete, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I think if we're just talking about the greatest athlete,
or let's put it this way. Let's put it this way: the greatest at their sport, the most dominant at their sport. How about that? Start bench cut.
Okay. Ooh, that's interesting. That's very, very interesting. Okay, Wong, all three of those guys are like, I mean, because you can't really say anyone's more dominating than Tom Brady in his sport. I mean, can you really make that argument? I know Tiger's got, I think, 15 majors now, I think. MJ's got the 6 titles. Look, I hate to do this, K-Wong. This is going to be blasphemy for guys like you and me. But I have to start Tom Brady. When we say the most dominant in their sport, nobody has done it better than him. So I'm going to start Tom Brady. I'm going to bench Tiger because golf is an individual sport. You're doing it by yourself. And when Tiger was at his peak, I mean, he was doing things in golf that had never been seen before. So I'm going to bench Tiger. This is the first time in my life MJ hasn't won something for me, but I'm going to have to cut MJ just because those other two guys have just been ridiculous in their sports, man. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep tonight, K-Walk.
Hey Jay, you're the second person in the history of Michael Jordan's career to ever cut him. When he got cut sophomore year at Langley.
That's right.
So you and that coach, we got something in common. That's the only time with MJ. But I'm going to go with MJ. This is a tough one, man, and I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it. I felt like it's something that I had to do, especially with the Cowboy thing. But I'm going to start MJ, man. I just think that he was the most dominant man on both ends of the court, man. I mean, and all the accolades. I know he has the 6 championships. He could have had more had he not retired, in my opinion. So I'm gonna start MJ. I'm going to I'm going to bench Tiger Woods. I'm going to bench Tiger Woods, and because of everything that you said, I mean, just everything that he did when he was in his prime, and so much that he brought attention. He brought attention to golf like nothing. Like I've never watched golf like I watch now. Even this past couple of days, even though he withdrew, I'm still watching Tiger Woods. So I'm going to bench Tiger Woods, and I'm as hard as it's for me to do, I'm going to cut Tom Brady. So that was definitely a tough one for me, man. Hard for me to do. Yeah, hard for me to do for sure, man. All right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time that we have. Ran over a little bit there. But like I said, I always want to leave you guys with something. Today, I'm going to leave you with this: is surround yourself with people who are only going to lift you higher. Okay. For myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins for the Walkthrough Radio Show right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. God willing, we'll talk to you next week.